Kerala, a state in the southern part of India, which is known as the most welcoming and tolerant place in the country. It was Kerala which first welcomed Islam, Christianity, and Judaism with open arms to Bharat, a land of refuge for the persecuted and a land of plenty for its residents. From its lush rainforests and mountains, all the way to its pristine beaches, backwaters, and mild temperatures, Kerala has been a small, isolated paradise which has been a part of Bharat's antiquity from time immemorial. The Hindus of Kerala have proven time and time again to be hospitable and generous hosts who receive anyone with open arms without regard for their origins, religion, class, or language. The welcoming and tolerant reputation of Kerala is entirely due to the Hindu residents of the land. However, in this same land, Sanatana Dharma is reaching a point of no return. Persecution of Hindus in Kerala has a long history that is rarely discussed. The facts of Hindu genocide in Kerala have been strategically erased from history. In this series of videos, we will highlight the rarely talked about persecution of Hindus in Kerala from the 17th century till date. The strategic ethnic cleansing of Hindus is occurring as we speak. We will begin this series by talking about the present situation in Kerala and a little about the recent events that have affected Hindus in the state. Historically, Hindus have had control over most of the land in Kerala, but in the past 200 years, Hindus from all over Kerala have been forced out of their homes, fleeing from their ancestrally owned lands as a result of Islamic persecution and aggression. The Hindu population of Kerala is slipping away as we speak. In 1901, Hindus made up 70% of Kerala's population. In 1951, Hindus made up 61% of Kerala's population. In 2011, Hindus made up 55% of Kerala's population. In 2020, Hindus currently make up roughly 46% of Kerala's population. As a result of the Hindu population being forced out, many cities and various regions of Kerala, which were once Hindu lands, are now Muslim-majority areas. The aim of these large-scale expulsions of Hindus from these areas appears to be geographic elimination. The Islamic practice of geographic elimination of non-Muslims is not new and occurs through a very systematic and calculated process. First, land and houses are purchased by Muslims in a predominantly Hindu area by offering higher than market prices. These purchased houses and lands are then rented or sold exclusively to Muslim clients or buyers. The new Muslim owners or tenants will then settle in the Hindu areas and slowly begin to build their population via migration and having unusually large numbers of children. The new Muslim community grows until it becomes the majority in the formerly Hindu majority area. They then begin threatening, harming, and harassing the local Hindus, particularly girls and women. Eventually, the local Hindus, fearing for their safety, will sell their property to Muslims for below market prices and flee from the region. The location may differ, but the strategy of Hindu geographic elimination remains the same. This process has already been completed in India and Kashmir, as well as other formerly Hindu or Buddhist regions such as Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. In 1901, Hindus owned 80% of private land in Kerala. In the 1950s, Hindus owned 65% of private land in Kerala. As of 2020, Hindus own only 22% of private land in Kerala. Geographic elimination is just one threat facing Hindus in Kerala. Now, let us examine another existential threat: love jihad. Love jihad. What is love jihad? Love jihad is a term used to describe the systematic process by which Hindu women are groomed by Islamic fundamentalists into conversion through pretended love and other deceptive techniques. Tens of thousands of Hindu women have been groomed and converted in this manner in Kerala alone, with over 100,000 love jihad victims in India annually. While initially deemed a hoax by governments, the media, and court systems, after several years of legal struggle, they were forced to acknowledge its existence. The reality of love jihad. How love jihad's existence was confirmed. In 2009, 2 female MBA students disappeared from Pathanamthitta in southern Kerala. They were taken to a mosque in Jelari before being moved to Ponnani, where they were converted to Islam. A habeas corpus was filed by one of the victims' mothers in the Kerala High Court in front of Justice K.T. Shankaran. In that habeas corpus, the complainant stated that the girls were abducted from their homes at night by members of the Popular Front of India, an Indian Islamist group, and were actively assisted by their women's wing, the National Women's Front. The government categorically stated to Justice Shankaran that love jihad did not exist. The justice then asked the government to submit all reports on such conversion activities as generated by the Special Branch of Police for the court's perusal. On December 9, 2009, after extensively reviewing all police reports and related documents, the Kerala High Court became the first legal entity in the world to acknowledge and confirm the existence of love jihad, particularly in the Kozhikode district, where the police had records of conversions that fit the definition of love jihad. Justice K.T. Shankaran, after the declaration confirming the existence of love jihad, recommended that the government take legal steps to prevent it from happening. Upon hearing the news of their plot being uncovered, the Muslims of Kerala became enraged. Several death threats were made by Muslims against Justice Shankaran, and threatening posters were placed around his home. Contrary to popular belief, love jihad is not carried out solely by Muslim men. In reality, love jihad is a team effort involving both Muslim boys as well as girls. Love jihad is executed through 5 carefully orchestrated steps, also known as the 5-point plan of love jihad. Step 1. Contact. Muslim girls identify weak Hindu girl classmates. They then establish a friendship with her in order to get all of her personal information. After this, they pass the information along to Muslim boys. The targeted Hindu girls typically come from distressed or low-income families. Step 2. Impress. Based on the information obtained through Step 1, the targeted Hindu girl is then intensely pursued by Muslim boys with an irresistible mix of fake love and other sentiments. The Hindu girl is also lured in by expensive gifts, cash in the name of health, and a subtle indoctrination on Islam. Step 3. Entertainment. Taking the targeted Hindu girls to movies, restaurants, and trips. Step 4. Emotional approach. The targeted Hindu girl is emotionally manipulated into a physical relationship. The girl is then secretly photographed or videotaped and then blackmailed using the recordings. Step 5. Conversion. The trapped Hindu girl is then made to convert to Islam. The girl is given psychiatric medication, hypnosis, and other types of mind-altering techniques to permanently alter their psyche and personality into that of a blindly faithful Islamic slave. What happens after love jihad? The fate of love jihad victims can vary greatly and is a dark and rarely discussed subject, as most of the rescued victims do not want to openly speak about it due to the threats against them and their families. The truth is much darker than we think. Some of them are forced into marriage with older Muslim men. Others are forced into prostitution. Others still become human trafficking victims. But the most heinous motive is the usage of these innocent Hindu girls in terror attacks. There are several reports of love jihad victims being used in terrorist attacks. Most of the terrorist activities carried out by love jihad victims include but are not limited to opening bank accounts using their original Hindu names for terror-related transactions, providing logistical support for terror attacks, spying and scouting out areas for potential terrorist activity, carrying of explosive materials and weapons without the risk of being searched, the ability to operate in full view of law enforcement agencies without arousing suspicion, and worst of all, personally carrying out suicide bombing attacks. Here are just a few examples. In 2014, a Hindu girl named Nimisha, originally from Thiruvananthapuram, was a dental student in Kasaragod. She was trapped into love jihad by Sajjad Vaniambalam, who trapped her, got physically involved with her, and impregnated her. Around this time, she was converted and adopted the new name, Fatima. She underwent an abortion and was married to another Muslim. She was then presented to Abdul Rashid, who was the ISIS recruitment leader in southern India, who took her under his wing and then, along with some other girls, brought her to Sri Lanka. She was then put into the Islamic Cultural Center in Colombo for 1 month. From there, she was taken to Syria to become an ISIS bride. Her jihadi husband was killed by US military forces in Syria, after which she fled to Afghanistan, where she was arrested by the Afghan government and put in jail just outside Kabul. In 2012, another Hindu girl named Asha from Kasaragod was trapped into love jihad. She converted and changed her name to Aisha. She was used for logistical support for the October 2013 Patna serial bomb blasts aimed at the then prime ministerial candidate Narendra Modi. She was used to open bank accounts using her previous Hindu name. These bank accounts were then used to perform fund transfers. Pulastini Mahendran was a Sri Lankan Hindu girl, a 12th standard student with dreams of becoming a doctor. She was trapped by a Sikh of the National Tawhid Jamaat and converted to Islam. She ended up connected to Muhammad Husdun and married him, changing her name to Sarah. She was involved in logistical support, photographing of target locations, and transporting of explosives for the April 2019 Sri Lanka Easter bombings. After the bombing, she has disappeared entirely. She is currently wanted by Sri Lankan and Indian authorities, who are still searching for her. It is suspected that she fled to India and may be living in Kerala. As of now, the whereabouts of this Islamic terrorist are unknown. All of this has occurred under the nose of the government, media, and so-called human rights organizations. In the upcoming episode, we will talk about how the media and film industries in Kerala are working against Hindus, along with the fact that there are no human rights for Hindus in Kerala. Please stay tuned for the upcoming episode.